What's going on, guys? So I want to come at you with another video here talking about another stock. This one a cannabis stock, Valens. So the Valens company is a cannabis slash extractions company. They focus more on the extraction process rather than the cultivation process. So they say like backed by science, extract with purpose. They have a little video on here that's it's pretty cool. If you want to check it out, you just watch it there. It kind of makes it seem like it's a revolutionary new kind of world of science and cannabis and all of these kind of possibilities that come with treating medical patients and all of the different extractions and beverages and all of the cannabis 2.0 products that are being rolled out steadily. Your edibles, your vapes, your distillates, your everything, drinks, beverages, like I said. So they have their 5 different extraction methods. They have their supercritical CO2, their ethanol based, their hydrocarbon based, their solventless, and their terpenes. So when you're extracting cannabis, a lot of times what you're going to be doing is you're looking to use some sort of fuel or some sort of combustible in order to basically heat the flower to a degree in which you can extract the terpenes or extract the solvents. So extract the THC, essentially extract the oils and the distillate right out of or distillate was what becomes the oils after you extract it out of the flower. It becomes distillate, and that would be the solventless. So distillate is like you take all of the terpenes, you take all of the flavors out, and you just have a pure solid THC base, and then you could add terpenes in if you wanted, which would be like berry flavor or whatever type of flavor you'd want to add to your vapes or your edibles. Or a lot of times with this, you just want them to be distillate so that they don't have a flavor at all, so that you don't get that weed taste in your edibles or your beverages. And they kind of show you here like their potential is going forward with all these new kind of, this is like water, like a powder you put into your water. They have sparkling water, all this stuff, and they actually have products on the OCS. If you go check them out, I'll show you in a minute there. But it's interesting because I saw this announcement from the OCS basically saying that they were going to release beverages, and I went and looked up the beverages, and there's these 2 different companies or 2 different brands, and I was like, okay, it's interesting. 2 different companies are on here, and I come to find out that they're both Valens products that are the only cannabis products, beverage products available on the OCS website are from Valens. So that's an interesting point to make there. And the one thing about Valens that you got to kind of look at is they're actually one of the only profitable cannabis companies. I'm not sure if they're like 100% profitable, or if they're kind of are breaking even, but they're definitely not losing money. And the main reason is because they focus on extraction. So even if even if the overall market for cannabis sales are down, or if they're not able to sustain the kind of supply and demand that they're anticipating, then they can still make money through extraction, because they simply charge companies to extract their products. So no matter what, people need extractions, people need their edibles, people need to make their beverages and their, vapes and all of these things. So Valens basically is the middleman there. They come in and they say, hey, well, you pay us, we'll extract your product. We have the best kind of methods. We have the best proven strategies and the best proven science for extraction. We have all these methods that we can use. Whatever you need, we will extract for you, and then send it back, or we can package it and sell it ourselves, because they do have a sales license. So it becomes one of 2 things: either companies become suppliers, or they become customers. So either they supply the cannabis directly to Valens for maybe a bulk fee, and then Valens extracts it and sells the product, the finished product, whether it being vape, edibles, beverages, whatever. And then you get the other side where, say, a company wants to have Valens extract their product, but they don't necessarily want to have Valens market their product and sell their product. They just want to have Valens extract it. So then they extract it and they send the finished product back to the company, and then the company can then take it and put it into their vape cartridges, or whatever product they want to then distribute. So it says here they commenced trading on Toronto Stock Exchange on April 16th, 2020. It's very recent. It's actually only a couple months. And if you see, like, their stock's basically just been going down. Now, it was probably one of the worst times to have an IPO, mainly because it's the whole COVID situation and everybody's kind of not sure where to go with their capital. So there's a lot of people jumping out of the stock market right now. So it's not necessarily the best to have an IPO at this time, but at the same time, if you look at their overall balance sheet, they've kind of been one of the most steady, profitable, and consistent cannabis companies. So it's interesting and something to take a look at. So we'll dig deep in here, and then we'll go over the chart, and we'll go over a few things. But yeah, I say the best position today, accelerating to tomorrow. So extraction and next generation product capabilities drive our advantage. Broadening end product and delivery capabilities, broadening our white label offerings to become the largest third-party cannabis product development and manufacturing company in the world. And when it says third-party, that's what I was saying. Like, they're not like a big cannabis company themselves, but through their partnerships with a lot of bigger companies like, Afria, Canopy, and all of these bigger companies, they can still, operate independently, but offer services to those companies in which they can benefit from those partnerships, make money from these giant companies, and then basically have their own say and control of what their operations are. So they're readying business model for exportation to a high value international market. So as I said, this is a global thing. This is a revolutionary industry, and those that kind of are able to craft and fully optimize these strategies, these sciences for extraction and cultivation or whatever it is, they will be the leaders for the world of tomorrow. And when other international markets look to open, they're going to look to these guys for guidance. So they're providing unique, customized offerings, further developing our unique IP-based product technology platform, offering customized white label services. So like I said, they're willing to come in and do the product and market it for you, but market it as your product. But they will do all the. You just have to supply the premium cannabis, essentially. Significantly increasing existing extraction capacity of 425,000 kilograms of hemp and cannabis to keep up with expected demand. So they already have a really high extraction capacity, and they're constantly ramping that up to take on new customers, showing that they're constantly getting new partnerships. They're constantly, which is basically what they say here. Gaining more partnerships, establishing ourselves as a trusted partner of choice by various leading LPs and CPG companies. There you go. They're basically one of the biggest. So this is just, obviously projections of what the annualized revenues for cannabis will be in the coming years, and how, as we start to open up new retail stores and we start to open up new products, the market will just kind of grow and grow and grow. And this kind of shows you the overall markets, and showing that at least almost 50% of all markets will come from these extraction processes, right? And flower will only make up about half, and obviously pre-rolls. So, and like I said, this is right now in 2018, right? So in the future, they're showing you that oil-based will be 75% and flower-based will only be 25%. So they're expecting the growth of edibles to outpace the growth of flower, at least for demand, and then obviously they will be even more valuable at that time. Unlocking higher margins for our customers. So from cultivation to extraction to purification, formulation, and product manufacturing. This is where Valens comes in. Like I said, they're not really focused on the branding and sales. They do these things. They do these things, right? But this is where they're making a majority of their money right now, is in this kind of extraction, purification, formulation, and product manufacturing process, in which they offer third-party partnerships with other companies to essentially extract their cannabis and market it or sell it back to them, right? And this is showing just their whole process and the different ways that they look to do things. So obviously their oil extractions, their crude oil, down to their crude oil, then they use oil filterization and lipids to extract it further down to a distillate, which is, like I said, removes all taste, smells, simply just pure potent oil. And then this is your isolate. So this is when you're mixing or adding in different terpenes and flavors, or whatever you want to add to give it a different taste, smell, or feel. And these are, like I said, they're the ones I talked about before. These are all their processes and kind of the end products. So this is kind of what you get out of each one. So for supercritical, you get capsules, tinctures, vapes, topicals, beverages, edibles, and full spectrum. In ethanol, you get capsules, tinctures, vapes, topicals, beverages, edibles, and others. And then in their hydrocarbon, which is primarily more for like creating concentrates, shatters, and smokable. I don't even call it like concentrates, I guess, smokable concentrates. And then your rosin, your hash. So these ones are the more kind of pressed, which I would assume you'd see kind of more distillant. But like it says here, your terpenes is when you're adding them back into the solvent list, to the rosin, to the hash, to the concentrates, to the shatter, to give it a different flavor, or to give it kind of a more potent aspect, depending on what they're trying to achieve. So here you go. They kind of just go through the same things that I've been talking about. Talk about their different ways of kind of jumping in and kind of beating the rest of the market in terms of like where they're looking the market's going to go, and kind of how they're profiting is kind of better than others, and they're looking for this market to kind of only go up from here, basically. Here's some of their partnerships right here. So these are their extraction companies. These are companies that they specifically extraction for, right? Like I was saying, these are the ones that they just take the product, extract it, and sell it back to them. And as you can see, they got Canopy Growth, Hexo, Organigram, Green Organic Dutchman. These are 3 or 4 of the biggest cannabis companies in Canada, even in the United States as well, with Tilray, Emerald Health Therapeutics. So basically what it's saying here is like these guys here, these white label guys, they are the ones that use these are the ones that are basically using Valens as an extraction and a manufacturing base. So Valens is coming in, taking these guys' products, or these guys, depending on Shoppers Drug Mart, they obviously have a wide variety of products, but they also have some products that they are putting out themselves under like white label. At least I think that's what it's trying to say. I'm not sure kind of exactly what that means, but what I think they're trying to say is that they're taking products and marketing for these companies. So they're doing all of the work instead of selling it back, and then having, Canopy and all these guys, they market their own products. Whereas with these guys, it's Valens that actually does the marketing and actually creates and manufactures the product and puts it to market. At least that's what I think. I'm not 100% about that, guys. So, obviously do your own research and look into it. But either way, they're partnered with all of these companies in one way or another. So, talk about their setting the industry standards. They have their Valens lab is kind of the #1 lab for testing products and for coming out with kind of new performance analysis. Like, so they can perform analysis in as little as 24 hours, positioning Valens as the go-to lab with turnarounds of 4 to 5 times faster than any other leading lab. So they're kind of the #1 go-to by Health Canada, as it says down here. Consisted of high margin revenue sources mandated by Health Canada. So they're constantly meeting Health Canada standards, but at the same time getting the highest kind of margin value that they can for their products. Valens is building diversified IP portfolio that spans across all types of products and services. So this is kind of, just going back to the same thing. They're just trying to find every single extraction method and kind of benefit each company into, no matter what they're looking to do or where they're looking to, go in terms of distillates, beverages, edibles, topicals. They have the processes that will help them get there. And this is kind of showing how they break down their terpene profiles, and just kind of gives them a sense of like, how they look at different products. And they'd obviously take these terpenes and add them in if they to a distillate to give you those tastes. So like I said, like Pineapple Express, they take all of these terpenes here and they'd add them in to a distillate, and they'd give you this profile that would come out with a Pineapple Express flavor. Or basically it's not like none of this is artificial. Don't think I'm saying they're just taking like flavoring and putting it in. It's just when you extract terpenes from certain product like Pineapple Express cannabis, you can extract the terpene separate from the distillate and then basically add it in when you are desired to do that way, or when you need it, because sometimes you might want, like, say, like 50 million kilograms of distillate or whatever, but you only want 10 million of Pineapple Express. So it's better to, obviously extract the entire 50 million and then go back in and do 10 pineapple, 10 blueberry, or whatever you want, whatever terpenes you want to add in. You would do it afterwards, and then allows you to have like a more stable and streamlined process. So this is also what I was talking about with their beverages, is they kind of claim to have like the best shelf life and stability, that has zero cannabis taste and color and odor, fasting offset faster than any other in the industry. They say they have exclusive rights in Canada, Mexico, UK, and Australia, and like, show you here what the current problems are in the market and what the Valens solution is. So they have a solution to all of these problems: water solubility, onset, offset, smell, taste, consistency, shelf stability. So all of these things, which are a big problem for a lot of beverage companies, they say they have the answer for. And they show you here how the global market for drinks is expected to be 1.4 billion in the next 4 years. So we'll see. But anyway, they show you here, like, this is where they are now, and they're kind of already in this stage as well. But as they go into 2020, they have more products, and these are by Valens themselves. So these are products that Valens is putting out. So currently they have all of these. They're moving, into beverages. Like I said, right now you can order beverages from the OCS. So they're going into beverages, and then they're going to be into edibles and topicals by the end of the year. They talk here about how they're going to be expanding their facilities. They're basically buying another facility close to them, so they're adding 180 carry-on road to their 230 carry-on road facility already, and a future GTA facility as well for extraction for white label formulation, emulsions, beverage co-packaging. So it's basically a packaging and processing facility. So you'll have all your extractions and everything done here, and they'll have their packaging and processing facility there. 12 months goal. So they're delivering on existing contracts. So they're filling out all of their contracts they have, getting them all done, getting all the revenues from all these contracts that are basically just money on the table. They're not waiting for products sitting on the shelf to sell it. They already have everything extracted. Once it's extracted, they're simply selling it to the market or selling it back to the company for a profit. Kelowna and GTA expansion. So they're also planning to expand to Kelowna at one point. I'm not sure exactly where, but obviously they have plans to move to BC as well. Hopefully then they'd have two kind of different supply chains, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. They can also extract, for BC companies, and allow it a lot easier than having to ship your product all the way to Ontario and then having them to ship it back. Launch next generation products, building IP portfolio, differentiating product offering. So, like I said, they're trying to launch all these new 2.0 products. So this will be what they're talking about and kind of going forward. Expand into more markets, edibles, topicals, all those things, and they're looking for global expansion. And this is kind of their ideas of global expansion, where their kind of key areas of interest are now and where their long-term opportunities are. Which is obviously in the U.S. They're seeing a lot of long-term opportunities in the U.S. for CBD, and everywhere else it's kind of markets they're already in or starting to capitalize on. And here you can see, and this is in millions, by the way, if you're wondering, like $58, no, that 58 million, so 149 million. So they're projected to have 318 million revenue by 2022. And the interesting thing about these guys is that, and if you see here, so in 2019 they're still not necessarily profitable, or in 2019 they were not necessarily profitable, but in 2020 they are now profitable. They are now profiting 24 cents a share. So it's earnings per share, EPS, right? So 24 cents a share. So now they're earning 24 cents a share. They're hoping to earn 37 cents a share, and then 42 cents a share. So that's almost a 50% increase year over year. They're looking at, and if you look at the revenues, it's kind of in line, right? So as I was saying with this company, is that they do have the ability to do this mainly because they're not subjected to pitfalls in terms of supply and demand. They're not stuck with a bunch of weed in the shelves that's not selling and drying out, and they're not able to make a profit. That's not how these guys do business, and that's not how they want to leverage their company. Their company is leveraged to a market that is specifically revenue based. It's not based on selling product, it's based on extracting product. So it's always going to be there. It's a service that's needed. It's not going to be, going away anytime soon. And they kind of show you here how the next 3 companies, and these are all big companies. Radiant, I think, is owned by Aurora, if I'm not mistaken. But if you look, none of these companies have even half the capacity of Valens. And like I said, Valens is constantly expanding, and soon they'll be up probably over 500,000 capacity. So, and then when you look at their types of extraction, they have 5, whereas the next leading guy has 2, right? And then 1 and 1, which is basically just pure BHO hydrocarbon. They're not using their different, supercritical CO2 methods. And you see here that like they're pending EU GMP certification to sell in Europe. So there are kind of looking to expand. And then when you look at their cash flow and operations, they're obviously minus $3.5 million. But when you look at everybody else, they're doing a lot better than their partners, than their competitors in that sense, right? So obviously there's a lot of reasons to look at this company and think that there's a lot of opportunities here. I just want to go over a few other things before I jump out here. So let's look at the stock real quick. Their stock's trading at $2.05, down from a high of close to $4 back, or it did hit $4 back in the beginning of the year. So back in January, it was at $4, and now it's trading at $2. So it's essentially cut in half. And there's nothing, necessarily bad that happened on their part. If you look here, the main drop was when the whole market collapsed in March. And it's been trying to, pump back since then. It's gone up to 250, but now it's back down to 205, and it's kind of been beaten down currently. So, but if you look at the overall market, it's not like it's trending much different than the overall market. The overall market is doing almost the exact same thing. So when we see these kind of dips in the market, we can't blame a single company when their company falls victim to the same dip, right? Because the overall market is just selling off. So now you see it's kind of following the overall TSX. I'm not saying that I think this is an amazing buy or anything. I do think it's a good company, and I do think that there's opportunities here, but we should always be cautious. And just before I get out of here, I'm just gonna show you guys their products here. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna go right onto their website. I'm just gonna pull this up here, search Valens, and go to images, and then on. And then hopefully we get a picture. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so let's see. Basecamp